Amen. Yeah, that was a good one. Let's weigh in on Saquon's prospects with the Eagles. Ralph Vacchiano writing for FoxSports.com that Saquon could tip the scales for the Eagles offense, much like McCaffrey did for the 49ers. Barkley could have the kind of season McCaffrey had for the 49ers last year. It's not crazy to think that if the Eagles start winning again, Barkley could be a dark horse MVP candidate. Let's go. FoxSports.com. Nick, are you buying this? Do you think Barkley could tip the scales?
No, to me, this would do a cross-sport thing. This would be as if when Paul George went to the Clippers, someone wrote an article, be like, he could have a Kevin Durant to the Warriors type of effect. No, he can't and he won't. And it's because the Clippers are not as good as the Warriors were, and Paul George is not as good as Kevin Durant is. They're a good player going to a good team as opposed to a great player going to a great team. And you guys tried to do some funny business yesterday when we talked about this. You were telling me about Christian McCaffrey's career, and I trust both of your guys' football knowledge so much. I didn't push back, but I felt like it was a little funny about Christian had these great quarterbacks. He had Cam for all this time. So I went back and I looked. And I was like, let's see what Christian McCaffrey's situation was in Carolina. His rookie year, he did have Cam, a healthy Cam. They won 11 games and went to the playoffs, and he had an excellent season. Year 2, he had a healthy Cam. They weren't good. He had 2,000 yards, 13 touchdowns, and was an All-Pro. Year 3, he had Kyle Allen as his quarterback. He had 2,400 yards, 19 touchdowns, was an All-Pro. Years 5 and 6, he was hurt. And years 6 and 7, he's been with the Niners. Every single healthy year of Christian McCaffrey's career, he has either been Rookie of the Year level or an All-Pro. That's what he's been. That's not the case for Saquon. And so I think Saquon is a good, at times very good player. Christian McCaffrey, Greg, I think is, depending on how long he plays, a Hall of Fame caliber player. So that's where I don't think they're going to have a similar impact.
Yeah, it was interesting. I think he could. So when the question says, can he? Yeah, he can. I don't think he will. And the reason why I don't think he will is not because of Saquon Barkley. It's more or less because in that locker room, on that side of the ball, I don't think the egos of those guys will allow it.
Wow.
Like and I love A.J. Brown, but he's the one that I think of immediately. Saquon coming to Philly in A.J. Brown's and Devontae Smith's mind is, we got Saquon. That means more guys in the box. We're going to get more opportunities. Saquon's coming there is like, I got A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. I ain't never had that. You know what that means for me? I get more opportunities and more holes are going to be open. And so I just don't know if they can really just come together and just do what's best for the team versus what each individual ego.
You're skeptical. Christian has been featured as the premier guy in San Francisco since he got there. You're skeptical if that's going to be the case in Philadelphia.
Correct.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I don't know
That was like bars by you right there. It was pretty good. I would feel bad if I was A.J. Brown listening to it. Schefter's Twitter feed that our producer read. 4 years, $212 million deal for Tua, keeps him in Miami. This puts him behind Joe Burrow and Trevor Lawrence, but ahead of Jared Goff, Justin Herbert, Lamar, and Jalen Hurts. Nick, I was surprised by this deal because there was always this health concerns. Are they committed to Tua?
Yeah.
Did this take you by surprise?
Yeah, I think it's a mistake. And I really like Mike McDaniel. I think he's very sharp, and I have graded him on a curve, which is look at everything he's doing with a, to me, obviously limited quarterback. He now has seemingly signed off and advocated, because we know the owner's not in love with Tua. The owner tampered with Tom Brady to try to replace Tua, tried to go get Deshaun Watson, tried to replace Tua.
Now he fell in love with him.
Maybe.
He's given him $200 million.
If he did, I would imagine it wouldn't be because, it would be in part because Mike McDaniel's vouching for him. So the reason I say all that is, the curve is now removed. You have now signed off on this guy is a force multiplier. This guy is not, a bus rider. He is a bus driver. Okay. I don't think he is. And so I would have, if I were the Dolphins, I would have, Tua, are you really going to miss games? Is that what you're going to do? I would have had him play out this year. If he plays well, say, I know it's a crummy businessman, probably going to franchise tag you while we figure out what we're going to do with the quarterback position. Like I wouldn't tie myself to Tua at north of $50 million a year. The Dolphins have. I think there's a ceiling on their team with him as the quarterback. I think that, and that's even if every game's in 80 degrees balmy. And so it's not surprising. I thought it was going to happen, but I think it's a mistake.
I don't mind it. I don't mind it because sometimes when things work, not necessarily because of just one individual, but because of the addition of others, you try to hold on to it. And that's what this is. Like, if Tyreek Hill isn't here, if McDaniel isn't here, like, this deal doesn't get done. Tua, I don't even think we're talking about it. But when he got Tyreek Hill and he partnered and paired his talents and ability with his head coach, it makes it work. And it actually puts them in a position to where they are a very competitive and a contender and have been the last few years. So for me, I don't mind it. He is not one of the best quarterbacks in all of football. But with his coach, with the way he calls games, with how he gets rid of the ball, with the scheme, with the weapons around him, you're talking about him like he is at portions throughout the season. So for me, it's inevitable he was going to get paid.
So I guess, but with what when you say with the weapons, with the coach, with the system, does that not then, doesn't the logic follow that they can get someone else to do that much cheaper? And then make sure you keep those weapons or use those resources to help your defense or your offensive line, which you lost pieces of over the course of the year. Go ahead, Greg.
No. Okay. You could, but I'm gonna tell you why they wouldn't. Because you know who's at Dolphins practices almost every single day? You know what quarterback is there almost every single day? Dan Marino.
Yeah.
You know what they haven't had since Dan Marino's left?
Any success.
Any type of success.
Playoff win.
And you know what they are experiencing? Some forms of success.
A little.
It's more than what they have. So when you feel like you have a chance, when you feel like you have a chance, and if you can now get a playoff game at home versus in the bitter cold in Kansas City against the best quarterback doing it.
But they would have. They had that. That's my point. They had it all in front of them, and they fell apart again.
Did Tua fall apart, or
yes.
did they fall apart?
No. We watched those games. The end of this year,
it was Tua.
No. It was absolutely in part Tua. They were not scoring 70 points. They were not high flying. They were not rolling. And absolutely part of it was Tua played his worst football against his best opponents at the end of the season, and looked like he wanted nothing to do with that playoff game. Nothing to do with it.
He can't play well in the cold.
You can't be an NFL quarterback.
Well, give him another shot at it.
Hold on, what is it?
I want to have Tua's going to. The Dolphins will win the AFC East. Okay, that's where predictions week coming up. The Dolphins will win the AFC East. Tua led the league in passing. I think he has throws for the most yards this year? Probably not. But I like the fact that the Dolphins are committed to him. If they do come up short, I feel like Mike McDaniel will start to have to shoulder some of this.
That's what I said.
Some of this blame, not necessarily all Tua. And the reason why I think that you just always want to switch these quarterbacks out, if it doesn't work, then if I'm sitting back as the GM, like, hold on, we're paying Tyreek Hill $30 million, we're paying Jalen Waddle $28 million, and they are dependent positions. So we decided to go cheap on the quarterback. And now we're wasting $60 million of our receivers because we don't have a guy who can get them the ball.
All right, okay, a couple things. First of all, I want to amend something I said. When I said then he can't be an NFL quarterback, that was not about Tua specifically. The point I was trying to say there is, because it sounded harsher than I wanted it to, is if flatly you can't play football in the cold, then you're not going to be a successful NFL quarterback.
I know Bruce not here to take a shot.
No,
but
The guy played the best defense in the eventual Super Bowl champions, the active